Shmaryo ben Eliyahu, that's Rabbi Yitzchak's father. Shamash Avin Aliyah. I want to say the same thing I say often, and that is that whenever I read an os in the Tzidkas Hatzadik, I think to myself, maybe in the Shiur we'll skip this one. And then I read it 6-7 times, and I start to see how important it is. So the 1 second, please. Forgot the Hikra, I'm sorry. So the quote from the Gemara in Brachos, which we've been quoting over and over and over again, is Mishmar Rishon Balayla Chamar Noyer. Now, just remember the Gemara, which I'm sure everybody knows by heart by now, and that is that there are 3 Mishmaros throughout the Laila in Shamayim. Those 3 Mishmaros are happening in Shamayim, kind of a changing of the guard in Shamayim. That's Malachim take over per different watches. At every Mishmar, the Gemara says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shoyeg Ka'ari. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shoyeg Ka'ari. You know, the whole Gemara says, Lamdeni, Darsheni. Like, what does this mean? How can, like, Rav Tzadok spends, you know, we spend weeks and weeks on it, Rav Tzadok maybe years, but like, what does it mean? On every Mishmar, whenever there's a changing of the guard, in Shobayim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shoyeg Ka'ari, and he says always the same time, the same thing, Oy Labonim, Shechrafti is basic. Like, woe unto us, my children, that I have destroyed the Beis Hamikdash. That's a sha'aga, like a lion is shoeg, a roar of Hashem by the changing of the guard. And then whatever happens in the Shemayim, we've been learning, also happens, something happens, some type of an indicator, a siman happens in this world where we live. And you can tell that there's a change in the Shemayim, a change in the guard Shemayim, which has got to be very, very big. I mean, think every change you get a guard you've ever seen, multiplied by Shemayim, by infinity. What's going on in the Shemayim? Something happens over here. What happens over here? Mishmar Rishayla. There's 3 Mishmaris. So let's start at, let's say we start at Shkia, and we go till Neis. Do it that way. So the Mishmar Rishayla, Chamar Noyer. The Gemara says, you will hear the donkeys braying. And the Rashi says, not that they don't make noise all day long, they do, but you'll still hear the donkeys making noise through the Mishmar Rishon. The second Mishmar, Klavim Tsayakim, the dogs are barking. And the third Mishmar, siman that happens here in this world, is the baby wakes up, wants to eat, the wife wants to talk to her husband. And Reb Tzadok, we spent a lot of time understanding the details of what this could possibly mean, the symbolism of what it could possibly mean. So now we're going back again. We spoke about Golus, we spoke about the night, we talked about dogs, we talked about all kinds of things. Now we're going to talk, by the way, dogs is a big one. In the limud of Reb Tzadok, dogs is a very big one. Dogs about klavim, klavim, klavim. And the words of the Arizal, by the way, dogs are a big one. Anikalman the Chatzif, right? It's a big one. And the Zayar dogs are big. We got to know what dogs are very, very big in this Bria. Leyv. Dog is Gematria Eliyahu. We learned. Even though, you know, it's not so yeshivish to have a dog. Am I right? It's like not so. Here in Beit Shemesh have dogs. I don't think most people in Gula have a dog. It's not a...
That's that stage.
What?
We've moved on.
This is progress.
I mean, I heard once somebody said that dogs can see malachim, and that's the reason that in the house. It's like Friday night, malachim will come. Is that a known thing?
I always tell the story that I made this shidduch years and years ago when I was just engaged. I made a shidduch with the best guy in the yeshiva, with this Rosh Yeshiva's daughter. I somehow made the shidduch, and it was going and beautiful, and it was like a wonderful shidduch too, very chashuva people. And it came time for for this boy's parents lived in Tel Aviv. This Orthodox Jews lived in Tel Aviv. And this was a Rosh Yeshiva, and it came time for them to visit the parents. That's how far the shidduch got. And they knocked on the door in Tel Aviv to come, Shiva, and the dog started barking. And he looked at her, and she looked at him. The shidduch was off. And not only that, the wife said, well, maybe we should go ask Das Torah before we call off the shidduch. After all, they went to Bnei Brak, they went to Rav Shach, and Rav Shach said, absolutely, call off the shidduch. And I'm warning you guys. But I think the pshat is, what's the pshat in Rav Shach, that if it bothers him so much that there's a dog, that means this girl grew up in one culture. And if they have a dog, it means they grew up in another culture. So what's the shidduch? It wasn't about the dog. That's my pshat in Rav Shach. But that was the Maisa Shoya. The shidduch was broken up. The Gemara says, "Habagadol kelev ra b'toich beisa." It's a terrible thing, but it was a little dog. It wasn't a kelev ra. I don't know what a kelev ra is, but in the Zohar and the Arizal in Reb Tzadok, dogs are big. So let's do it. Mishmar Rishon Balayla, as we know, Chamar Noer. And he doesn't quote Rashi. Rashi says it. What it means is the donkey is braying. Sheneyor Adain. It's still making noise. The donkeys make noise all day long. Lefi, what's the pshat in the dog making noise during the Mishmar Rishon? Lefi shehuzman sheholchen lishkav roi b'nei adam. Before the days of electricity, the sun went down and we went to sleep. And most people go to sleep between Shkia and 10 o'clock, let's say. That's when most people go to sleep in those days, before the nightlife. Now here's just pshat in the Mishnah that we're learning now. Regular pshat in the Mishnah. The leika lemeimar, the ika deholchen lishkav yoel kilodidan, the ika deganu. So when we say, let's just get pshat here, and bear with this for a moment. In the Mishnah, there are three opinions as to until when you can say Shema, right? First Mishnah. You could start b'shasha koinem nichnasen lechol b'trumat soif ha'ashmari shayna. That's when you should say it. Ad soif ha'ashmari rishayna, like you could say Kriya Shema until 10 o'clock. I'm saying 10 o'clock, that's Baruch, the end of the first Mishnah. Chachamim oimrim ad chatzos. No, you could say Kriya Shema all the way until chatzos. Rabbi Gamliel oimar ad shiala amud hashachar, all night long. So you have three shittas in the Mishnah, Rabbi Eliezer, Chachamim, and Rabbi Gamliel. What's our halacha? Chacham. What? You could say at Chachamim until Chatzos. If it's Diavad, you could go like Rabbi Gamliel. But we don't paskin like Rabbi Eliezer. Now, Rabbi Eliezer, and the Mishnah goes on with the whole story. Those are the three shittas. So, when is the Chamar Noyer? The Gemara goes on to say during the Mishmar Rishonah. So it's talking about a time where people were still going to sleep, and that's the B'shachbacha according to Rabbi Eliezer. What's the B'shachbacha? Follow me, this is important. What is the B'shachbacha according to Rabbi Gamliel?
When they're sleeping.
When they're sleeping, l'chayr, or the Chachamim, or they're sleeping. So when the Chamor is Nayar, he's going, according to Rabbi Eliezer, when the people are still going to sleep. The lake of the parenthesis says, the Madi Kadaholchim Lishkav Yoel Kidlididan Ikadaganu, because you can't say that when we say there are the Madi Ikadaholchim Lishkav Yoel Kidlididan Ikadaganu, in our halacha, Kidlididan means according to our halacha, the Gemara wants to say at Daf Tes, why can you still say Kriya Shema, which is Mashra in the Mishnah, why can you still say Kriya Shema until the morning? So not like Rabbi Yechiel said, because it means you're sleeping. That's another opinion in the Gemara. But Ika Deganu, there are some people that are still going to sleep, where they're partying all night and they're going to sleep. Ika Deganu. So maybe Dim Kain Kol Alayla Nami. So then what you would say is then if we're going with the Ika Deganu, if you're going with some people go to sleep, then you should always be able to say Kriya Shema all night, even according to Rebbe Lazar. Like the Chachamim. So what's the difference? That's his kasha. So it can't be. So it must be, like Yechiel said, that the Rebbe Lazar is saying not when you're going to sleep until 10, you're sleeping after 10, and Ika Deganu, and maybe some people are still going to sleep late at night. Let's do the Pshat in here for a moment, and then we'll get into the deep meaning. Over there, by the way, Rashi and Tosfos, I just want to allude to this. Rashi and Tosfos are talking about a case of when are you allowed to say Hashkivenu, not when you're allowed to say Kriya Shema. Hashkivenu, which we say at Marv, means put us to sleep. Let me sleep soundly, safely, properly. That's what Hashkivenu means. Can you say that until 4 in the morning? Hashkivenu. So it goes by. There you have an Ika Deganu. As long as some people are going to sleep, you could say Hashkivenu. So that's what Rashi and Tosfos talk about. I don't want to go into the halacha, but Rashi and Tosfos talk about that whether you could go basar miut in order to say Hashkivenu. Since some people, this is the bedtime for some people that party all night and they go to sleep in the morning, so I could still say Hashkivenu in the morning. Let's go through the pshat here. Ayin b'talmidei Rabbeinu Yoina b'mishnah deresh brachas. If you look at the Talmidei Rabbeinu Yoina, which is on the rif in the back of brachas, aliba de Rebbe Lezer ksas. He adds the word ksas v'hu adin l'didan. Lakach neyor im balav. Here's our point. Neyor im balav. Adayin b'saif mishmar rishain. So the point is, here's what we learned from all this, that bedtime is what b'shach b'cha means. B'shach b'cha means bedtime, not sleep time, but bedtime. This is when you go to sleep. My bedtime used to be earlier. Let's say 8, 9, or 10 o'clock. That's when my bedtime is. There's no lights after all. How long are you going to keep the fire burning? You go to sleep. You eat before that. Kachazah. Now Marvin, go to sleep. Say Kriya Shema, go to sleep. Now, b'shach b'cha of kumecha. During that whole bedtime period, the chamar is neyor. Donkeys are braying because hu adin l'kach neyor im balav. So it's interesting. Neyor is what the donkey does, makes noise.
No.
Right?
Nowhere.
A chamar noar, and it also means to be awake. So the donkey is making noise while its balav is awake, because Avalahala, once the Baal HaChamor goes to sleep, kasher alavusay, you tie the donkey to its trough. Thank you. Mashein ken kelev, which is not the case with a kelev. Ein ba'alav kashroi be'evus. A dog you don't tie up. What are we doing here? Back to the dogs. You don't tie up dogs at night. In other words, the whole purpose of the dog is that it shouldn't be tied up at night. You don't take like your horse, your donkey, you tie it up to the avus or avus. There's a difference between avus and an avus. I think it's the avus. I think is the trough, and an avus is the animal that is eating. I think but it doesn't make any difference. I think chamor, its job is finished when you go to sleep. It's a beast of burden. What's it supposed to do once you go to sleep? So you tie it up, give it some food, it falls asleep over there, and that's the story with your donkey. With the dog, when you go to sleep, you need shmira. So when you need shmira, so you untie the dog, and you let the dog run around your junkyard, and the dog is guarding and protecting everything around you. So it's a very interesting thing. This is all from Chazal, that the donkey when the donkey stops, the dog starts. Now, correct? Got it? When the donkey stops, because on a deeper level, chamar is a lashon of chomer, so it goes together with the Baal being awake. So when the Baal is bechomer, when the Baal HaChamor is in his Gashmias as opposed to when he's sleeping, when you're like mispashet from your Gashmias, when the dog is in his, when the person is in his Gashmias, so then your Siman in Shemayim is the Chamor. Like, what's the Siman in Shemayim that the first Mishmar started? The answer is, I'm summing it all up, because B'shach B'cha, that's the time when you go to sleep. When you go to sleep, though, the Chamor is Nayer, like the Chamor is getting in its last noises, its last connection, and so is the person. The person is getting in his last Chumrius, and the connection between Chomer and Chamor is a clear Shvulach Hampoyim HaChamor. That's what the word means. It means that it's all about Gashmius, and then we and here's where it's so interesting. Then we go to sleep, and when we go to sleep, that's when the Klavim are Tzoyakim, Kilev, Eliyahu. That's when the dogs start barking. So what's the what's the yomak here? In other words, the Kelev is the case. It's a little bit more ruchniistic than the donkey. So the Kelev is the case where we're not tied into the Chomer as much, and that's what happens. We go to sleep. Like we're alive when we're sleeping, but you're a little bit dead. But more important than being alive or dead while you're sleeping, the heart, the mind, the imagination, they're without gavul. So that's why you could dream the most ridiculous dreams that are impossible to do in this world, because all of the things that are in this world are going through the mind, which are limited by the physics of the world. But once you go to sleep, shut off the goof, turn it on low, and all of a sudden the leyv is soaring. It can go wherever it wants to go. And that's the pshat that the Siman and Shemayim is Klavim Tzayakim. The dogs take over while you're sleeping. Is this clear? Remez, Ani Yeshena v'libi er. I'm sleeping. Shir Hashirim it says. Ani Yeshena v'libi er. My heart is still awake. I'm in bed. Let's just get the Metzias here. I'm sleeping, but my heart is awake. We've all been there. Libi er. What did Shlomo HaMelech mean? So Chazal explain, Ani Yeshena v'libi er was talking about Klal Yisrael. And Klal Yisrael sometimes is in a bechina of sleeping. Or Klal Yisrael is schluft. Ayinu kechom is when we wake up. Still sleeping. But we go to sleep, but you look at somebody who's like sleeping soundly and deeply, and you say, like, is he dead? No. Still the Libier. I want to show you this medrash that I saw.
What was the Chazal
I'm about to show you. Yeah.
Is this specific to Eretz Yisrael, or is it by time zone?
What?
All this that's going on. Because at any point in the day, people are sleeping somewhere in the world.
You mean physically, is it?
It's going to
It talks about Eretz Yisrael, I think. Good question, but I think it's talking about Eretz Yisrael. Give me a second. There's a Medrash Rabbah, Shir Hashirim, Parak Hay, that's where it is, the pasuk is, Ani Yeshena, just to get a feel for how Chazal, learned this pasuk. Ani Yeshena v'li bi'er. I find it to be just unto itself a very profound pasuk. Ani Yeshena v'li bi'er. I feel like it's my personal status, like if I had it in WhatsApp.
translate that, please?
What?
How's that in English?
I'm sleeping, but my heart's awake. No fits, no?
I'm changing it right now.
Great status.
I'll do it.
Ani Yeshena.
Why is it in the Russian Nekeva?
Amra Knesses Yisrael. Lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Says Chazal, Ribono Shel Olam. Ani Yeshena min ha-mitzvos. I'm sleeping, I'm not doing mitzvahs. This is not Shlomo Mel talking. Knesses Yisrael. Let's call it for easy, to make it easy, Klal Yisrael saying. Like Hashem. Ani Yeshena min ha-mitzvos. I know I'm not doing anything Jewish. But Libi Er, however, look, Libi Er, L'gemilas Chasadim. We're doing chesed. Yeah, we've all seen this phenomenon. Like there's a Jewish, I'm not keeping Shabbos, but I'm moving to Eretz Yisrael because I'm Jewish. I'm going to Turkey to save lives because I'm Jewish. That's what Jews do. L'gemilas Chasadim. Ani yeshena min ha-tzedakos v'libi er la'asoisem. Ani yeshena min ha-karbanos. I know I'm not bringing any karbanos. Libi er l'kriya shema u'letfila. Still saying kriya shema. Ani yeshena mi beis hamikdash. We don't have a beis hamikdash. I'm sleeping. Libi er l'bate knasiyos u'bate midrashos. Ani yeshena min ha-kates. Libi er l'geula. Ani yeshena min ha-geula v'libai shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu er l'galeni. It's an interesting chazal. What does it mean? In totality, we can darshan this all day. But what's the pashut of Pshat in Chazal? That we're sleeping and we're not sleeping. Nim v'loy nim. There's this bechina of Klal Yisrael where we're not really awake, but we're still doing stuff because we still have a regesh, even in our sleep. We still are sleeping in Golus. We're still doing stuff which shows that we're present. we're still there. So like we don't have a Beis HaMikdash, but we go to shul. We're building shuls. Why? Why do we do that? We're doing that because deep inside we really want to build a Beis HaMikdash. We don't bring karbanos. We don't bring karbanos. But why do we daven? Because deep inside we want to bring karbanos. Ani Yeshena, one part of me is sleeping, but you could see from my actions that I'm not doing mitzvahs, chas v'sholom, but look, I'm running to do chesed. So this is the sign that sleeping but not dead yet.
There's still a pulse.
There's a pulse. There's still a pulse, and the pulse is in different areas. So, such a profound thing that Shlomo Melech pointed out to Hashem that don't give up on us because we're sleeping. Because even when we're sleeping, it's maskir. Like Rabbi Salanter, one of his famous things that he said is that a person could be sound asleep, and a fire will break out chas v'shalom in their house. And without even being awake yet, they're going to run to their son's room to save their child. So it's part of the bria. Ani Yeshena v'libi er. Like even when we're sleeping, we're thinking. Our heads are thinking. So and the good sign of what a person really is wake them up in the middle of the night and ask them a question. That's when you're going to get the MS. Shut up. All right, no, but it's such a ani yeshena v'libi er.
Is that the dogs kill Leyv, that the dogs are barking at night?
Yes, that's what he says. That's where Tzadok goes.
See, that's the Leyv of the Libi er.
Remez to everything that we're saying here, Pshat in the Gemara and Brachas, Mishnah and Brachas. What do we say in the Mishnah and Brachas? That we're talking about there's a mitzias of, we go from, let's just try to make this simple. We go from chamor to kelev. That's how the night goes. That's what the Gemara says. The Mishmar Rishona chamor noyer. Mishmar shniya kelev tzayakim. So there's a transition from chamor in this world, from chamor to kelev. What's the transition? The transition is from complete Gashmias, I'm going to sleep, Homer, to Kelev. Right? What's Kelev? Kelev. Leyb. That's what we learned last week. The Kelev means that there's something deep inside of me that's not sleeping. I'm sleeping. Klavim sayakim. So b'diuk, when I go to sleep, the dogs start barking. Not just your neighbor's dogs. That's their purpose. Their purpose is when people are sleeping, they're still awake. So it works like Kilev. Kelev works Kilev. It works just like your heart. The purpose is it stays awake, even while you're sleeping, guarding the ship. Your heart is guarding the home, the goof. That is a different story. It's a different Indian. But sleeping, the Indian of sleeping is that and when you think about it, like you're really holier when you're sleeping in a sense because your goof goes to sleep and your leyv is awake. That's a matzav. Ani yeshena v'libi er. And then he says, Sa'aka b'tefila avoda shebalev. Okay, help me here. I want to explain this. You with me? Remez. Where do we see the remez to everything that we're saying in the difference between the chamor and the kelev? Ani yeshena v'libi er. I read you the medrash. Tza'aka, Rabbi Tzadok says, Tza'aka b'tefila, that the bechina of tza'aka in tefillah is talking about the avodah shebalev. What is he referring to? You have chat, Yitzchak? What's he talking about? So there, you have chat? So what's this? Tza'aka b'tefillah avodah shebalev. So klavim sayakim. So what does the sentence mean? Tza'aka b'tefillah avodah shebalev. Al karbonis is not tza'aka.
It's not tzedakah, it's not physical bringing karbonis. Tefillah is the avodah shebalev.
So tefillah meaning tza'aka. So why doesn't it say tefillah? So the thing is like this, that there's a lot of, as you know, there's a number of lashonos for tefillah, and more to the point, these parshias that we're in, there's a number of lashonos for crying out to Hashem that the Bnei Yisrael did. So here, I quoted this once from the Talei Chaim. It's a Zohar, quotes the Zohar. In the Zohar it says, it's in Parshas Bo, Parshas Shmos, Vaye'anchu b'nei Yisrael. The pasuk says, Vaye'anchu b'nei Yisrael. What does that mean, b'nei Yisrael?
Crafts.
Crafts. Is that what the Art Scroll says? Vaye'anchu b'nei Yisrael. Shmos Beis Chaf Gimel. They gave out a grunt, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, Tlas Inyanei Hacha. This is Lashon HaZayar. There are three Lashonos in the Psukim here. Anocha, Sha'ava, Tze'aka. Three things that Klal Yisrael did when they were in the Mitzrayim. Vaye'anchu b'nei Yisrael, Vayitzaku b'nei Yisrael, Vatal Shavosam El Hashem. Three different things. B'chol chad b'lechudai misparsha v'kula avdei Yisrael. Everyone has a different pirush. Don't mix up and say, okay, Shavosam, Anocha, Tza'aka, all the same thing. Everyone has a different shot, says Rabbi Yitzchak. V'kula avdei Yisrael and Klal Yisrael did all three of them. What's the difference between them? Ein l'cha shava, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, ein l'cha shava elo b'tfila. Shava means tefillah kipshuta, shava. Shima tefilasi Hashem v'shavasi hazina. That's the pasuk. Tza'aka, listen to this, shetzayek ve'ena oimer klum.
Words.
So what a screaming, but I'm not saying anything. Shetzaka, not like that. Gedoyla tzaka mikulan shetzaka hi balev. Tzak libam el Hashem. Tzaka v'zaka. Sometimes you'll find zaka. Sometimes you'll find tzaka. Davar echad hu, says the Zayar. V'zu kroiva la kadosh baruch hu yoser mitzvila v'anocha. Chsiv kim tza'ik Yitzhak elai shamoya eshmat tza'akosai. So, what it comes out here from the Zayar, he speaks it out here, Hatzaka hi haramas kol bilvad b'li amiras milim. Hatzaki b'leiv. Tza'ak libam el Hashem.
Enoch is also with that words.
Right. So we need to know what's an anocha. You know, we do all of these things. Anocha. Yogain va'anocha. Hasim rimenu yogain va'anocha.
So it goes directly to Hashem. Enoch.
Can I have you a sitter? Let's just take a minute on this very, very important. Here. From Nuchon Tfilas from Nechunya ben Akana, Anna B'chaya Kedulas Yimincha Tatir Tzura. Most beautiful tfilas, whose Rashi Tevis are the Shem Hashem. So I have these little letters next to them, which we don't know how to pronounce, and even if we don't, you just look at the letters. The last thing in the tefillah is Shabbos Seinu Kabel Ushmat Sakoi Seinu Yodea Talumois. Shabbos Seinu Kabel, listen to be Makabel our tefillah, Ushmat Sakoi Seinu Yodea Talumois. In the Sfarim Amshat, it says Shabbos Seinu different than the Zayar. Here it says Shabbos Seinu is a regular tefillah. Tzakosenu is a kol without words. You look in the Malbim, for instance, Shabbos Seinu is a prayer that we don't even know we're praying. That's what a Shava is. Vatal Shavosam El Hashem. The Bnei Yisrael didn't know from davening. They didn't have minyanim for mincha in Mitzrayim. It wasn't davening. No shtibluch. They were shaku in the memtesh shari tuma. Like, let's understand it clearly. We were assimilated. Ani yeshena v'libi er. So what's the libi er? That even during the height or the depth of my assimilation, Shavosenu, we're still davening. So you stop somebody in the middle of the street of Mitzrayim and say, what are you doing now? Are you davening? No, I'm not davening. Not davening. But he's davening. Shavosenu kabel. Ushmat sakosenu, is the Malbim same as the Zohar? That's talking about I'm not saying any words to daven. So you have an anocha, you have shava, and you have tzaka. So you stop somebody in the street and say, what's that noise you're making? Are you davening? No, I'm not davening. I'm just tzaka b'li milim. I'm just like, I'm under duress. I'm a slave. Can't handle my workload. They just killed my son. So I'm being tzoek. So who sees this as davening? If I don't know I'm davening, and I'm not saying any words of davening, so why am I davening? The answer is, Yodea talumois. That he who knows every hidden thing knows more about what I'm doing than I know what I'm doing. Skavald? So this is Shavosenu Kabel, Ushmat Sakosenu, Yodea Talumai. So that's the etzem shat of Ani Yeshena V'Libier.
could ask a question and then
I can't hear.
so just to ask a question on that, would it imply almost or appear that we're constantly davening? Because while we're continuously doing our day by day, I'm involved in work and things like that. The Shabbos is that I should be matzliach. You know,
I think 100% MS. That's a question. It's good point. In other words, that in a sense, if you're with the program, of course, we go to shul, we go to daven, halacha, but the point is that we're always davening, and if you go deep into the person davening, meaning we're always communicating with Hashem. Even we don't know Hashem, even we don't know what we're davening. Even you're talking about, you're a guy who knows to daven, so you're davening, you should be matzliach. That's like certain davening. He's talking about something even deeper. Shavasenu kabel, be makabel our tefillos that we don't know we're davening. And why should you do that? We should, because you're Yodei Talumais, because you know hidden things. I don't know. You know hidden things. So do we know what's going on inside our body, b'chlal? I mean, unless you're standing in front of like an MRI all day long, you don't know what's going on. But it's going on. So what's going on in my neshama? Everything's going on, like everything's happening. So what's going on in my neshama is happening in my neshama. And even I'm sleeping, ani yeshena v'li bi'er.
What's Anocha looking from Shabbos?
I think Anocha, the Malbim, I looked it up a couple days ago. Anocha is the most physical reaction to pain and to trauma. Is Anocha.
There's no kavanah to it?
Gedola Anocha, the Gemara says, Gedola Anocha Shemshaberes Kol Gufay. It's like, I think we have to say that the Anocha is a physical response, and then that's one thing Klal Yisrael did. It was like a physical response to the condition of their slavery. I sometimes feel there's too many children's stories about the Yitzias, about the Avdus of Mitzrayim and the condition of Klal Yisrael. I mean, this was a Holocaust, but it's not Avadim Hayinu. So we're talking about, I don't know. We don't sing like that about the Holocaust. Everybody, you don't do that. But that's because it's nearby. But the Klal Yisrael and Mitzrayim was begashmius anocha, terrible slave labor, and our reaction and spiritual almost death. Memtesh Shari Tuma. That's a lot. There's only 50. Into the Memtesh Shari Tuma. One more, they would have been gone. And then, at the same time, through that one little shar, that's still open, I'm davening and I don't even know I'm davening. And this was this was Moshe Rabbeinu's advocacy in HaKadosh Baruch Hu the whole time. This was Shlomo HaMelech. Talking about like these people, it's not stam. These people are not stam. No matter what they go through, there's always that one shar open. And even though they're sound asleep, ani yeshena v'li bi'er. And that's what the Medrash means. They're like, okay, I'm not doing the Beis HaMikdash right now. This is the most fascinating one is ani yeshena min ha'kates v'li bi'er legorlו. What do you mean? Okay. Ani yeshena min ha'kates v'li bi'er legorlו. These are cases where I'm sleeping, but it's still going on. So what's the case? What do you say?
I'm not thinking about, not involving myself in actively in the case.
Right.
But I'm thinking about.
Deep inside, like who's thinking about the gula? Strange people are always talking. Sign of Mashiach. This is a sign of Mashiach. That's a sign of Mashiach. It's and Tzidkas Hatzadik. It's not like must speak with the case. However, this is the amazing thing. But libi er legeula. I'm always thinking about, like, when is this world going to get better? I'm always thinking about it. I'm always thinking about, everybody's thinking about, like, when is there going to be peace? We're always thinking about when people are going to stop killing each other and hating each other. Libi er legula, but that's deep inside. We can get so political on the outside. We can get so crazy on the outside that we don't even, all right, so the dying, we can get so used to stuff. But no, libi er legula. That's what it says here in Chazal.
It's interesting that the different lashonos of tefillah is Yetziat Mitzrayim, but yet by Kriyas Yamsuf, is don't titzak elai. That's like the fourth. It's like a higher level.
Wow. Oh, beautiful.
Right. That therefore there's no more tzak, no more scream. Now it's
who shouldn't scream? Moshe. Daber al bnei Yisrael vayiso.
It's like the final levels.
So I just want to quote the Talei Chaim, that's the Chalban. Just one sentence here before we go. It says here, Lefamim halev, this is where I learned this over from. I just want to quote what he says. V'hine lefamim halev goesh v'nisar, nisar like Sarah. Al kol kach b'rigshoysav, a person becomes so emotional. Ad sha'amilim natokos me'apeh, until you have no words to say. You don't always have words to say. Yeah. Shalafamim ha'israchshu shebelev, it's happening so strongly in my heart. Gedola kol kach ad she'i efshar lo litztamtzem ulikanes l'toich tiburim. It reminds me that, according to the Ari, such an important teaching, according to the Arizal, if you see something, you're zocha to see something which is a tremendous regesh, beautiful sunrise, a beautiful sunset. You see something which just brings you to emotional tears. What do? We run and we tell, let's say, our wife, you know what I just saw? You should have seen that sunrise. Unbelievable. And we just ruin the whole thing.
Or we ruin it this way.
Why? Because we've taken some things, as Ari says this, we've taken, the Rabbi Chaim tells us, because we've taken something which is completely ruchnias or regesh, and you were mitzamtzem to the world of gashmias. Don't do it. If something is so special to you, if you see something which is so deep and so emotional, and you so want to share it, wait a couple hours. Then share it. Let it do its thing inside the person. Because once you're mitzamtzem b'milim, because once you put it into words, I find this to be true even by divrei Torah. Even you're learning a sugya halacha. Before you say it over, let it ruminate. Because when it ruminates, it's like once you say it, it's frozen. It's tempered in that place. Then you have chevra, pilpul, chaverim, beseder. But like you didn't yet reach where you can reach from the omek of your life. So sit down a little bit, and tefillah, sit down a little bit. Emotional experience, sit down a little bit. So he says here, let me just read these words before we go. K'may adam shechava chavaya amuka ma'od. She'enu yachol latar b'milim es atzmusa. You just can't put into words sometimes what you saw. B'yichud b'zman koshi, especially a very difficult thing, v'tzara v'tzar gadol. Like it was such a thing that, like, when I was growing up, was Kilu right after the Holocaust, right? So I was born in 1956, so it was right after the Holocaust. And all the people in Shul were Holocaust survivors. And nobody talked about the Holocaust. Lo milah echad. Now people talk, and it's good. The last few years, before they die, so they're talking, and we have a testimony. But it was ad kedei kach that people were able to say there was no Holocaust. They just didn't want to talk about the Holocaust. And as growing up, I never understood, like, what'd you go through? What did you say? Very seldom did you hear somebody talk about their experiences. Why? Because ein milim. This was an experience where ein milim. What am I going to say? And putting it into words would have actually diluted it. B'yichud b'zman koishi v'tzar gadol sha'alev hoime v'koyev kol kach u'mevakesh li'yispalel el shesa'aras halev gedola v'eina nichnesas l'toich kli hadibur v'hadeya. My heart is pumping so quickly, but it's just not getting to my mouth. It's not getting to my words. B'matzav zeh, that's the situation, he explains according to the Sayar, that's the situation which is Tzidkas Hatzadik. That's what tza'aka is. Kol pashut, b'li chituch milim, b'li diburim, machshavos, el ach v'rak zakas halev ba'atzmei, b'li levushim klal. Zos hatfila, zos hatfila agdoila b'yoser v'dugmas tekiyas shofar. Okay, save that one. Dugmas tekiyas shofar, kol pashut, b'li levushim klal. Let me just say it even stronger, that how often, like a person says, like, I would never say that. I would never think that. So ani yeshena v'libi er on the negative side, but we're feeling something. It means to say that one has to work. That's the Rabbi Yisrael Salanter. The person has to work so much so that it's that the leyv is feeling the right things, just like the leyv in Mitzrayim was davening. The leyv inside of a person can't be over this week's parsha. Leisachmod, parshas v'eschanan loitisave. Like it's a leyv. It's a leyv issue. Okay, thank you very much.
So when Tzadok is saying he's saying that's the strongest of Shiur, or it's also
it's the bechina of klavim. Your stronger level is the next level.
So when we're sleeping, there's this like libi air.
Dogs are wild.
What?
It's wild. The dogs are